bring the ball up in the air and predictions on the grass.
Is there such thing as free will in sports, or are they truly bound by determinism? There are some games, races, and matches that make you believe in the purity of athletics and the triumph of the human spirit above all else.
Falls down, picks it up, fires the first. The Angels have no hit. The Seattle.
This video is not about those instances. So tell the ref to get off his knees and stop blowing the game, because we're looking at 5 blatantly rigged moments in sports, part 5, and that's coming up next. Number 5, don't bet on it. The greatest game ever played was what put the NFL on the map in America, but is it possible the Colts-Giants championship in 1958 may not have been as wholesome and innocent as we once thought? With the game broadcast from coast to coast on NBC, the 1958 NFL championship at Yankee Stadium pitted the Johnny Unitas-led Baltimore Colts against Frank Gifford's New York Giants. Despite a quick 14-3 lead built up by the Colts, the hometown Giants came storming back, and the game went into overtime tied at 17 after a clutch field goal. Then in OT, the Colts mounted an 80-yard drive capped off by a legendary Allen Amici touchdown run to give them a 23-17 victory. And the person who may have been happiest about that was Colts owner Carroll Rosenblum, who was alleged to have placed a $1 million bet on the Colts covering the minus 3.5 spread. That's balls right there. And it might have explained an otherwise perplexing decision, running an extra couple plays to punch the ball into the end zone versus settling for the chip shot field goal that would have won the game by a 3-point margin. The Colts did have a plausible out here. Kicker Steve Mira really did suck, making just 4 of his 10 field goal attempts in 1958. And it's hard to blame the Colts for not resting their championship hopes on the foot of a 40% kicker/guard, even though he hit one in the game earlier. Either way, Amici's dive into the end zone became a lasting image in NFL lore, and if Rosenblum, who had a reputation for gambling, really dropped that much action on his own squad, he got his paper and all the clout he could possibly handle. Number 4, a fitting tribute, rigged or not. We all root for athletes who have recently overcome tragedy, and rightfully so. Brett Favre throwing 3 touchdowns in Oakland just hours after his father's death, D. Gordon's emotional home run, the Angels laying their jerseys in honor of Tyler Skaggs. One of the greatest tragedies in NASCAR history was the wreck that killed Dale Earnhardt at the Daytona 500 in 2001, with his son Dale Jr. racing alongside him. Just a few months later, Jr. returned to Daytona to race in the Pepsi 400. Trailing the leader by 6 cars with just 6 laps to go, Jr. pulled off a furious comeback to take the lead and finish the race in first place.
But it's going to be Dale Earnhardt Jr. using lessons learned from his father to go from 6th to 1st and score the victory in the Pepsi 400. That's unbelievable. Yes! That was beautiful.
It's an incredible story and one of the more cathartic moments in sports, but was that the plan all along? Dale Jr. was in the midst of a 36-race losing streak, sparking the theory that the drivers ahead of Earnhardt eased up on the gas pedal and let him pass and seized the moment, perhaps both for him personally and for NASCAR as a whole. But surely each driver raced for something personal too. Were they told to stand down by the powers that be? It doesn't matter to me, nor should it, as it delivered one of the most emotional races in the history of NASCAR. Number 3, a blessed win from above. Does love for conference outweigh a long collegiate basketball rivalry? In the case of Gonzaga and St. Mary's in 2019, that may be. In the West Coast Conference Championship, heavily favored Gonzaga squared off with St. Mary's, a team they had beaten handily twice in the regular season. A WCC championship meant an automatic berth into the NCAA tournament. And since Gonzaga had already cashed their ticket with a stellar regular season that included a win against Duke, all of the pressure having to beat a mighty foe was on the Gale. And yet, they took home the title. Brandon Clark of Gonzaga scored 16, but future lottery pick Rui Hachimura did next to nothing, as St. Mary's cruised to a 13-point victory, holding the Zags to 11% from 3 and handing them their first WCC tournament L since 2012. Gonzaga's loss ended up being a WCC win. Having 2 teams in the tournament gave the conference an extra bag of clout and increased the 2 things they were looking out for: legitimacy and respect, followed by Gonzaga choking in the Elite 8 and St. Mary's getting bounced in the first round. Number 2, a shocking upset. Recording artist, basketball player, and political candidate Manny Pacquiao of the Philippines actually has a hobby he likes to pursue in his spare time: pugilism, or boxing to the layperson. As it turns out, he's quite good at it, considered at one time to be the best in the world. When he fought American boxer Timothy Bradley in 2012, Pacquiao was a significant favorite. After getting off to a considerable advantage in the first 6 rounds, Bradley forced Pac-Man to go on the defensive in the later rounds, and Bradley's second win left the decision up to the judges. In a somewhat shocking turn of events, the powers that be ruled Bradley the winner by a score of 115 to 113, much to the dismay of the crowd and all of the Philippines. Even Bradley was a bit stunned, saying, "Every round was pretty close. I gotta go home and view the tape and see if I really won."
I'll go back home, review the tape, and I'll see if I won the fight or really don't.
The punch count revealed that Pacquiao landed 253 punches to just 159 by Bradley, and most independent judges gave the victory to Pacquiao. The pair has squared off 2 times since, gotta have a trilogy, with Pacquiao securing a unanimous decision on both occasions. Number 1, can you feel the heat? We all know the most blatantly rigged moment in NBA history came during the 2002 Western Conference Finals. But just 4 years later, the NBA was back at it again as the Miami Heat battled back to beat the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA Finals. Though ref ball was present throughout the series, Game 5 proved to be the most obvious. In a hard-fought affair, the Heat won 101 to 100 in overtime on the strength of 43 points by D. Wade. So how is a 1-point game rigged? Wade shot 25 free throws, as many as the Mavs combined, and sunk 21 of them in a performance that would make James Harden blush. The most controversial free throws came with 1.9 seconds left in OT, when a ticky-tack foul sent Wade to the line down 1 with a chance to take the lead. The eventual finals MVP sank both shots. Dirk Nowitzki and Mark Cuban were fined, and coach Avery Johnson appeared distraught on the sideline up until the final buzzer. The Heat won the next game and the series. Of course, Dirk and the Mavericks would exact their revenge half a decade later. The lesson? Never sleep on the German.
Huh? What's that supposed to mean?
Well, I hope you enjoyed this. Please do not forget to check out the other 4 videos in this series and comment below any other rigged moments I may have missed. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to the end of this video.